Hello, mga pre-calculus students. We are now in quarter 2, topic 16. Let's talk about double angles and half angle identities. At the end of the lesson, the student is able to derive the double angle and half angle identities, simplify trigonometric expressions using known identities, prove other trigonometric identities using known identities, and solve situational problems involving trigonometric identities. Trigonometric identities simplify the comparisons of trigonometric expressions. In this lesson, we continue on establishing more trigonometric identities. In particular, we derived the formula for f of 2 theta and f of 1/2 theta, where f is the sine, cosine, or tangent functions. So we have here the double angle and the identities for sine and cosine, then other double angle identities for cosine. Let us solve example 3.6.1. So we are given that sine t is equal to 3/5, where t is between pi over 2 and pi. Then we are to find sine 2t and cosine 2t. So in this case, we are going to analyze t is in what quadrant? Ano sa maning quadrant? T is between pi over 2 and pi. So meaning it's in quadrant 2. Okay. So first thing to do is we are going to find cosine t. So cosine t is equal to the square root of 1 minus sine squared t. And then replace sine t with 3/5. So 1 minus 3/5 squared. So this will be the same as 1 minus 9/25. So 1 minus 9/25 is equal to 25 minus 9/25. So get the LCD of 25 divided by 1 times 1 is 25 minus 9. So that's why we have the square root of 16/25. And your cosine t must be positive or negative 3. No, it's 4. It's 4/5. Since it's in quadrant 2, in quadrant 2, your cosine is positive, negative. It's negative. So cosine t is negative 4/5. Okay, after that, we have to find sine 2t. Okay, what's the formula of sine 2 theta, sine 2t? So in our discussion, kanina pa siya gi-present that sine 2t is similar to 2 sine t, sine t, cosine t. And replacing the value to our sine t is 3/5. And then cosine t is negative 4/5. Therefore, we have 2 times 3, 6 times 4, it's negative 24/25. Okay, for cosine 2t is pwede siya of cosine squared of a minus sine squared of a. Pwede pong 2 cosine squared a minus 1, or pwede pong 1 minus 2 sine squared a. Sige, arita mo gamit sa kanang 2 cosine squared a minus 1. So, it would be equal to 2 times your cosine is negative 4 over 5 squared minus 1. So, the answer, when we simplify, we have 2 times 16 over 25 minus 1. So, therefore, it's 32 over 25 minus 1. So, 32 over 25 minus 25 over 25 or 1. So, the answer is 7 over 25. Okay? So, mo na. So, ang answer for sine 2t is negative 24 over 25 and cosine 2t is 7 over 25. Okay. Number 3.6.2 is we are going to derive an identity for sine 3x in terms of sine x. Okay, notice that sine 3x can be simplified as sine 2x plus x. Pwede pong x plus 2x. Okay, using the sum identity of sine, we have sine 2x cosine x plus cosine 2x, then sine x. Okay. And then since sine 2x is the same as 2 sine x cosine x, then times din sa cosine x plus cosine 2x can be replaced with 1 minus sine squared x times sine x. So simplifying this, multiplying mo si cosine x times this one, so we can have 2 sine x cosine squared x plus sine x minus, ada ni po diri no. Paha na nalipat ko. Okay. 1 minus 2 sine x. Okay, so sine x minus 2 sine squared x. Okay, and after ana, we are going to replace na po this one with, in terms of sine man, diba? So, tanang mga cosine at minong sine. So, it would be equal to 2 sine x. This can be replaced with 1 minus sine squared x plus sine x minus 2 sine squared x. Then, atong i-distribute. So, this will be 2 sine x minus 2 sine cube x plus sine x minus 2 sine, ano pa ha? Squared man eh. May maling sine cube. May maling sine cube. May maling sine cube of x. Okay? So, simplifying by combining these two together, so it would be 3 sine x minus 4, negative 2 or negative 2, So, negative 4 sine cube of. Okay? That is all for 3.6.2. Next is tangent double angle identity, that 2 tangent to A is equal to 2 tangent A all over 1 minus tangent squared A. So example 3.6.3 stating that if tangent theta is equal to negative 1/3 and sine theta is greater than 0, find sine 2 theta, cosine 2 theta, and tangent 2 theta. Okay, so to answer example 3.6.3, kay given naman si tangent theta, which is equal to negative 1/3, nakita na to, pwede na to isolve daan si tangent 2 theta. Wherein the formula is 2 tangent theta all over 1 minus tangent squared theta. So, i-replace rin na itong value sa negative 1/3 sa tangent theta. So, 2 times negative 1/3 all over 1 minus negative 1/3 squared. So, simplifying, we have negative 2/3 over 1 minus 1 over 9, which is negative 2/3 over 1, LCD is 9, so 9 minus 1. So this will be negative 2/3 over 8 over 9. So getting the reciprocal of the denominator multiplied to the numerator. So it should be negative 2 over 3 times 9 over 8. So we can cancel the 3 and the 2. So that's why tangent is negative 6 over 3, negative 3 over, cancel ng 3 over 2, so negative 3 over 4. Okay? Next is, makita na to ang value sa second theta. Dili 2 theta, second theta. Because second is the square root of 1 plus tangent squared theta. No, kay ang equation ng identity na to kay second squared theta is equal to 1 plus tangent squared theta. Kay given man ang tangent, so pana na lang ito gamiton. That would be equal to 1 plus negative 1/3 squared. So it would be the square root of 1 plus 1 over 9. So we have 9 minus 1 is 8 over 9. So, no, 8 over 9, 10 over 9. It's the sum 9. So this is 9 plus 1 over 9. Therefore, it's equal to the square root of 10 over the square root of 9, which is 3. So, mo na si J second theta. Okay? So, nanay second. Yung second na to kay second theta. Ano itong nakitaan is square root of 10 over 3. Because dapat si second must be positive. So, kay mamita man punta sa value ni sine o ni cosine. So, using kani, makita na to si cosine. Diba? Which is 3 over the square root of 10 times square root of 10 over square root of 10 by rationalizing the denominator. So cosine is 3 square root of 10 over 10. Okay, then let's proceed to sine or diretso ta sa cosine 2 theta. Cosine 2 theta is the same as 2 cosine squared theta minus 1. So, kanina formula itong gamiton because we have already the cosine. So, 3 square root of 10 over 10 times 2. Then squared pa jud minus 1 is equal to 2 times 9 times 10 over 100 minus 1. Then mag-cancel ang 10, 5. So 9 over 5 equals 9 over 5 minus 1, which is equal to 5. 9 minus 5 equals 4 over 5. Okay? And if we have to find tangent 2 theta, that would be equal to sine 2 theta over cosine 2 theta. Because ano itong gibuhat ng formula kay ang tangent naa naman ta ganina, diba? Ang tangent 2 theta na to ganina kay negative 3 over 4. So that's why kung atong pangitaon si sine 2 theta, mo diyang sine 2 theta is equivalent to tangent 2 theta cosine 2 theta. Okay? So, ang formula di ay put sa sine 2 theta was tangent theta cosine tangent 2 theta 2 theta times cosine 2 theta. So, sine 2 theta equals tangent 2 theta. Tangent is negative 3 over 4. And cosine theta is negative 4 over 5. So, cancel ang 4. Therefore, it's equal to positive ni positive. Okay, so cancel. Therefore, ang sine of 2 theta is negative 3 over 5. Okay, so negative 3 over 5. So our answer would be sine 2 theta is negative 3 over 5. Cosine of 2 theta is 4 over 5. And tangent of 2 theta is negative 3 over 4. Then we have some useful identities. We have cosine squared A is equal to 1 plus cosine 2A all over 2. Sine squared A is equal to 1 minus cosine of 2A all over 2. Then we have also half angle identities for sine and cosine. Cosine squared A over 2 equals 1 plus cosine A over 2. Then sine squared A over 2 equals 1 minus cosine A all over 2. So, example 3.6.4, we are going to find the exact values of sine 22.5 degrees and cosine 22.5 degrees. So, notice that this 22.5 degrees is equal to 45 over 2. Okay, so therefore, we can apply kani nga mga identities. Half angle. So, kani si Zhang sine of 22.5 is similar to sine of 45 over 2. Wherein our A is 45. So, that's why it would be similar to the square root of kani. Kay squared man eh. So, square root ani muna si J sine. Sine squared man na si J. The square root of 1 minus cosine 45 all over 2. Okay, so which is similar to the square root of 1 minus square root of 2 over 2 all over 2. And we'll find further, we have the LCD of the numerator is 2. So 2 minus the square root of 2 all over 2. Which is similar to the square root of 2 minus the square root of 2 over 2 times 1/2, the reciprocal of the denominator. So, okay, and then this would be equal to the square root of 2 minus the square root of 2 all over 4. That's why the square root of 2 minus square root of 2 all over 2. This is sine 45 over 2 or sine of 22.5 is equal to the square root of 2 minus the square root of 2 over 2. Ay, over 2. Okay. What about cosine? Cosine of 45 over 2. The cosine of 45 over 2 is the same as kanina po itong gamiton. The square root of 1 plus cosine 45 over 2. Cosine 45 is similar to cosine pi over 4. So this will be the same as the square root of 1 plus the square root of 2 over 2 all over 2. Then simplifying again, we have 2 plus the square root of 2 all over 2 all over 2 pagajud. Or it's similar to 2 plus square root of 2 over 2 times 1 over 2. And this is the same as the square root of 2 plus the square root of 2 over 4. And lastly, a cosine of 22.5 is equal to the square root of 4, no, 4, the square root of 2 plus square root of 2 over 2, square root of 4. Okay, so parihara no. Okay, next example is 3.6.5. We are to prove that cosine squared of theta over 2 is equal to tangent theta plus sine theta all over 2 tangent theta. So in this case, we need to simplify this one in order to arrive to ani. So we have cosine squared of theta over 2 is the same as formula we have kanina, it is equal to 1 plus cosine theta over 2. Okay? And then, in order to arrive na natay tangent diri sa denominator, lisod ng taan. So, atong i-multiply ang both numerator o denominator, i-multiply na to o tangent theta over tangent theta. Para mapurma ang denominator daan. So, simplifying the numerator by multiplying tangent theta times 1, we now have tangent theta plus cosine theta tangent theta. All over 2 tangent theta. Okay? Then, okay ng tangent, okay ng denominator, ang diri na laman, kanina laman. So, dapat ma-sign man eh. So, therefore, ang tangent will be replaced with plus cosine theta. Yung tangent is sine theta over cosine theta. So, all over pagdadjud into tangent theta. So, cancel cosine, cosine. So, that's why we can now have tangent theta plus sine theta all over 2 tangent. And this is now the required identity. Okay? And then we have here tangent half angle identities. That tangent A over 2 is equal to 1 minus cosine A over sine A. Then tangent A over 2 is equal to sine A all over 1 plus cosine A. Tangent A over 2 is equal to sine A over 2 over cosine A over 2. And tangent squared of A over 2 is the same as 1 minus cosine A all over 1 plus cosine A. Okay? Okay. So, next is example 3.6.6. We are going to find the exact value of tangent pi over 12. Okay, so notice that tangent of pi over 12 is the same as tangent of pi over 6 all over 2. Diba? Ang pi over 6 over 2 is equal to pi over 6 times 1. And that would give us a value of pi over 12. So in this case, atom A is pi over 6 all over 2. Okay. So, ang atong gamiton is kaning first. Kaning. So, we have, it would be similar to 1 minus cosine of pi over 6 all over sine of pi over 6. So, it would be the same as 1 minus cosine of pi over 6 nominated. Cosine of pi over 6 is the square root of 3 over 2 all over 1/2. So, the numerator can be simplified to 2 divided by 1 times 1 is 2 minus the square root of 3 times the reciprocal of 1/2, which is 2 over 1. So we can cancel the number 2. That's why our final answer would be 2 minus square root of 3. Okay, that is the answer for 3.6.6. Example 3.6.7. if sine theta is negative 2 over 5, cotangent theta is greater than 0, and 0 must be less than theta or equal to theta, then theta is less than 2 pi, or it is theta is between 0 and 2 pi, 0 inclusive. So find sine of theta over 2, cosine of theta over 2, and tangent theta over 2. Notice that in the given, our sine is negative, and tangent here, cotangent here is positive. So, asa man nga quadrant wherein cotangent is positive, and then sine is negative. Diba? It is in quadrant 3, right? So, if it is in quadrant 3, your theta must be between less than si just 3 pi over 2, pero greater si just pi. Okay? And since ang atong theta kay atong tungaon theta over 2 man, so ang less than po ang theta over 2 sa pi over 2. Ang atong pi over 2 po. And then, ato po ni over 2, so mo na less than po siya sa 3 pi over 4. So, asa mang 3 pi over 4 dapat? Mo ni ang pi over 2 nga rin. Mo po ni ang 3 pi over 4. So, between the half, so it's somewhere in quadrant 2. So, mo ni siya ang kani quadrant 2 na ma-found. Okay, so in quadrant 2, your cosine is negative and your sine is positive. And since we are given that sine theta is equal to negative 2 over 5, so to solve for cosine theta, it should be 1 minus sine squared theta. That's the square root. Therefore, we have the square root of 1 minus 2, the negative of 2 over 5 squared, which is equal to the square root of 1 minus 4 over 25. So, simplifying further, we have 25 minus 4 over 25. Thus, we have the square root of 21 over 5. And since it is in quadrant 3, so your cosine here is negative. Ito. Okay. So, next is sine of theta over 2. So, we learned kanina in our identity, half-angle identities. So, we have atong sine of theta over 2 is the square root of 1 minus cosine theta all over 2. So, since our cosine theta is negative square root of 21 over 5, so we are going to replace our cosine, so 1 minus the negative of square root of 21 over 5 all over 2. So the numerator now becomes 1 plus 5 plus square root of 21 over 5 times 1/2. So it becomes the square root of 5 plus square root of 21 over 10. Since over man ang 10, so ato na pong i-times of 10 over 10, so that ang atong denominator becomes rational number. So it's the square root of 50 plus 10 square root of 21 all over 10. So that is sine of theta over 2. Okay. Next is to find out the value of cosine of theta over 2, which is, so ganina, positive atong cosine, atong sine, kay na mo sa quadrant 2. Karon, atong butang negative ang value, kay na mo sa quadrant 2. So it should be the negative of the square root of 1 plus cosine of theta over 2. Okay, so replacing the cosine with square root of 21, negative square root of 21 plus the negative square root of 21 over 5 all over 2. So it would be equal to the square root of 5 minus the square root of 21 over 5 over 5. All over 5 times 1/2. Reciprocal of the denominator. So that's why we have the negative of 5 minus the square root of 21 all over 10. Then to rationalize the denominator, multiply both numerator and denominator by 10 over 10. And that's why we have the square root of 50 minus 10 square root of 21 all over. Okay. And lastly, our tangent theta over 2 would be one minus, ano yan ang gamiton? 1 minus cosine of theta over sine theta. Pero itong una di ay over sine theta. So it would be the same as 1 minus the negative square root of 21 over 5 all over negative 2 over 5, which is the value of sine. So simplifying, 1 minus or 5 minus the square root of 21, mapositive na di ay kay negative of negative, plus the square root of 21 over 5 times the reciprocal of the denominator, which is negative of 5 over 2. So cancel ang 5. And tangent in quadrant 2 is negative, so negative na nandaan. Okay, so thus the final answer there is the negative of 5 plus square root of 21 all over 2. Now my final answer for example 3.6.7. Okay, so let's proceed to more solved examples. Example number 1 is if cosine theta is equal to negative 5 over 13 with theta is between 0 to pi, find sine to theta and cosine to theta. So somewhere in quadrant 1 and quadrant 2 because theta is between 0 and pi. So since it is given that cosine of theta is equal to negative 5 over 13, to solve for sine theta, we have to use the square root of 1 minus cosine squared theta. This will give us 1 minus negative 5 over 13 squared. So it would give us, and an answer of 1 minus 25 over 169. So, simplifying further, we have 169 here as our answer D divided by 1 times 1 is 169 minus 25. And that is why we can get the square root of 144 over 169. So, sine here is equal to 12 over 114 is square root of 144. So it is 12 over 13. So let's since ang atong sine kang cosine is negative, ang atong sine is somewhere man ko na atong theta from 0 to pi, so negative man ang cosine, so meaning sure na nasa dyan sa quadrant 2, di na pwedeng quadrant 1. So that is why our sine is positive. Okay, to solve for sine of 2 theta, so it should be using the identity we have, 2 sine theta cosine theta. So this will be 2 times sine is 12 over 13 times negative 5 over 13. So simplifying, 2 times 12 times negative 5 equals negative 120. All over 13 times 13 is 169. That is sine of 2 theta. And to solve for cosine of 2 theta, we can use katong cosine squared theta minus sine squared theta. Kaya daghan mo sa formula. So, kanina mo itong gigamit. Okay, substituting cosine with negative 5 over 13 minus sine of 12 over 13 squared. So, it would be 25 over 169 minus 144 over 169. So since they have, this is subtraction and the subtrahend is greater than the minuend, therefore, the value is negative 119 over 169. Okay, so that's all for number 1. Okay, number 2 is derive an identity for cosine 3x in terms of cosine x. So in order to do this, we have cosine of 3x is the same as cosine of 2x plus x. So since it is cosine, it should be cosine 2x cosine x, then minus, plus mo na, sine 2x sine x. Ano po, nawa nga po. Kaya ito ibalik. Okay, so it should be cosine x sine 2x then sine x. Okay, cosine 2x can be replaced with the value 2 cosine squared x minus 1 times cosine x minus sine 2x is 2 sine x cosine x, then copy sine x. Okay, so distributing, may 2 cosine cube x minus cosine x, then minus 2 sine x cosine squared times di na bahan okay, dapat sine man ni og sine squared ni then cosine x. Okay, so since sine squared man na atong i-replace kaya atong target is cosine, so we have to copy 2 cosine cubed x minus cosine x minus 2 quantity 1 minus cosine squared x cosine x. Okay, so this will be the same as 2 cosine cubed x minus cosine x minus 2 cosine x kani times 1 times dalawas. Then plus 2 cosine cubed. So the final answer would be 2 plus 2 is 4 cosine cubed x minus 3 cosine. Okay, so mo na ang final answer sa number 2. Okay, number 3 is we are going to derive an identity for tangent 3t in terms of tangent p. Okay, so tangent 3t is equal to tangent 2t plus t, which is similar to tangent 2t plus tangent t all over 1 minus tangent 2t tangent t. Okay. Kung tangent 2t is, kanina pong tangent 2t is equal to 2 tangent t over 1 minus tangent squared t plus tangent t all over 1 minus 2 tangent t over 1 minus tangent squared t tangent t. Okay. Then simplify ang denominator. Simplify ang numerator. Ang numerator daan ha 1 minus tangent squared t is 2 tangent t plus tangent t minus tangent cube t. Okay, tangent kani i-times na nandiya over denominator niya is 1 minus tangent squared t divided by ani is 1 minus tangent squared t minus 2 tangent t tangent squared t. Tangent squared kay tangent times negative 2. Okay? Then, ako i-simplify ang numerator. Cancel na niya. Okay, same na. Pila naman eh. 3 tangent T. Ngayon mo dyan, 3 tangent T minus tangent T all over 1 minus kanina 3 tangent squared T. So, our answer is tangent 3T is equal to 3 tangent T minus tangent cube T all over 1 minus 3 tangent squared T. That is number 4. Number 3, the idea number 4, sorry. Okay, next number is number 4. We are going to find the exact value of sine of pi over 12. So notice that sine of pi over 12, sine of pi over 12 can be expressed as pi over 6, sine of pi over 6 all over 2. So therefore, our theta is pi over 6, so theta over 2. So sine squared of pi over 12 is the same as sine squared of pi over 6 all over 2, which is the same as 1 minus cosine of pi over 6 all over 2. Okay, therefore, substituting cosine of pi over 6, cosine of pi over 6, it's 1 minus square root of 3 over 2 all over 2. Which is similar to 2 minus square root of 3 all over 2. So we have 2 minus square root of 3 over 2 times 1 half, and that would be equal to 2 square root of 3 minus square root of 3 over 4. This is sine squared of pi over 12. Then since we are defined sine of pi over 12, so we need to take out the square root. So we have sine of pi over 12. Pi over 12 niya. Ay, isa naman ay. Turbo ng video over 12. Sine of pi over 12 is equal to the square root of 2 minus the square root of 3 all over 4. Or the same as the square root of 2 minus the square root of 3 all over 2. Okay. So that's all for number 4. Next is number 5. We are to prove that sine squared of theta over 2 is equal to secant theta minus 1 all over 2 secant theta. So we are going to simplify this one in order na mapareha sa right side. Okay, let us recall that sine squared of theta over 2 is similar to 1 minus cosine theta all over 2. Okay, second man atong denominator dapat mo na atay times ang both numerator and denominator with secant theta. So that's why the numerator becomes secant theta minus cosine theta secant theta all over 2 second theta. So, daan naman eh, nakuha namin. Ang kanina lang mo deripitas mo ay 1. Okay, then second theta minus cosine theta, and second theta is 1 over cosine theta. All over 2 second theta. Okay, that's why makancel man eh. So, ang final answer karon is second theta is minus 1 all over 2 second theta. Okay, that's number 5. Okay, last number. Use the half angle identity to find the exact value of tangent 75. So, half angle identity. So, tangent 75 degrees is similar to tangent 150 over 2. 150 degrees. Which means the tangent of theta over 2 is similar to 1 minus cosine of theta. So, 150 all over sine 150. Okay, during the theta, how many atong 90, 180, kuha na to 30. So, how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 over 6. Kanya. So, ang imo dihang cosine is negative square root of 3 over 2. Ang imong sine diha is positive 1/2. And this will give us, the numerator becomes 1 plus the square root of 3 over 2 all over 1/2. So the LCD of the numerator is 2. 2 plus the square root of 2. Square root of 3 times 2 over 1. So, cancel out na to ang 2. Therefore, tangent 75 is equal to 2 plus the square root of 3. Okay? So, I think diri sa naman takutob. Thank you for watching, and thank you for giving time in order to learn. So, I don't hope magtiyaga mo paminaw. But if sa inyong tanaw sa atong lesson is a junior, you need not to, are not forced to watch this YouTube videos for this subject. Pero pinahanglan dyan mong tabang, binasa more pa dyan ng tabang after watching the YouTube. Then you can PM me anytime. If you have some doubts and questions, you can ask me anytime. So I do hope nakatabang ni daw mag-load dyan nag-discuss kay taas sa kaadyo ito. But I do hope nakatabang dyan. Thank you and God bless.